So let's talk about that unexpected Cloverfield movie that came out. During the Super Bowl, they announced the trailer literally 2 hours before the movie actually came out, which to me falls in line really well with the marketing for this franchise because the first one was marketed without a name and it was marketed really close to its release date, and 10 Cloverfield Lane was released 2 months after the trailer came out, but they said that was a Cloverfield movie whenever the trailer came out for that one. But I thought that this was really genius marketing, but also genius marketing that pissed me off too, because marketing can trick you, marketing can fool you, and it did fool me with this movie because the Cloverfield paradox is so. I'm so sad to say that this movie to me wasn't that good. It was all right. There were things I liked about it. There were things I did not like about it. This movie to me is a disappointment, especially to the last two movies because Cloverfield, the first one, I liked. I thought it was enjoyable. I thought it was fun. I thought it was cool using found footage for a monster movie. And I don't know if that was done before that. It probably did, but I didn't. I don't think I saw a thing that was like that before, or in full a found footage monster movie. But I thought that that was a really cool idea and really creative. And 10 Cloverfield Lane was one of my favorite films of 2016. I thought that in terms of the acting, in terms of the cinematography, in terms of the writing, in terms of this not being technically a Cloverfield film until J.J. Abrams came in and snatched it up and made it part of the Cloverfield universe, I thought that that was a fantastically acted movie. And John Goodman and Emily and Mary Elizabeth Winstead are fantastic in it. And I thought that just how thrilling it was and how beautiful it was. It was one of my favorite movies of 2016 and one of my favorite movies ever now. And that's weird to say how the first film I liked, the second one I absolutely loved, and this one I really am very middle of the road on. I'm not going to say I hate it, but I think that this is definitely such a step down, especially in terms of the last one that I absolutely loved. This one, to me, I'll give the positives first. The positives for me are that the acting is really good. I really think that these actors are great. The main girl, I'm going to butcher her name because I have not heard it pronounced by anybody. Gugu Mumbrachara, I think, and that probably just sounded like the worst pronunciation of this person's name, and I apologize. But she was so good in this movie, and I've only seen her in. I think the only other thing I've seen her in was Beauty and the Beast, and she was Plumette, I think was her character. She was the one that was very operatic singer. I think that's who that was. But unless I'm confusing one of the characters in that movie, but I think that that is her character, the one who's the very operatic singer. And and I thought that in this movie, I like in that movie she wasn't really like she was a side character. She wasn't one that was very important. But in this one, she is the main character. And even though Daniel Bruhl is credited first because he's got the most credits, I think out of these actors, even though we got Chris O'Dowd and David Oello in it too, it Daniel Bruhl is credited first. But I think that these actors are really good, especially the main girl. She is really good. But the problem to me is that the writing sucks. It's really not. It's really weird because there's a lot of stuff that happens that is so random and so very, like very, like very casual circumstance. Like they don't explain a lot of things. Like it is very much a mishmash of all this weird writing and a lot of allusions to other horror sci-fi movies. Like Alien, like The Thing, like that movie Life, which came out last year, which I didn't like. But you've got all these other great movies that it's basing itself from. But to me, it feels like it needed to be more original too. So it's a bad step down in terms of the writing and in terms of originality. Like it does have original things. I really love the idea that this is a paradox where it is a couple different universes and these people venture into another one, and that is really cool. And you see characters from different universes like another version of these characters, and you realize what the difference with them is and why they are doing these things, even though it's not written very well. But these characters are. It's interesting just to see this idea of parallel universes where these characters, some in one universe might be dead and some might be alive, and then there's these questions of, should I save the world or save these people that are alive in my other dimension? I think that is a really cool idea, but it is not written very well. And that is such a shame because this could have been way better. And it sucks because the last one was written so well. Like, I thought these characters were so interesting in 10 Cloverfield Lane, that it worked really well. In this one, these characters are not very interesting. The acting is great, but that's not something that to me I can overtake with everything in a movie. I think that the acting is great, but the writing is bad, and it borrows heavily from a lot of different things. And the marketing, like I said when I started this video, it's a great marketing, but it pissed me off because this I'm not spoiling anything saying this, but the marketing made it seem like you are going to figure out like the connection between 10 Cloverfield Lane and Cloverfield, and you're going to realize about the monster, where the monster came from. And maybe it's in here, but it seemed to me like it was very vague if they even said it, but they did not make it to where you figured out the answers to 10 Cloverfield Lane and Cloverfield and why this monster is there. Like, I thought that it didn't explain it at all, and it's hard to say without spoiling it, but it did not explain it well. I mean, of course, it's a Cloverfield movie, so you're gonna have an appearance of something, but it does not equal the plot. Or, I mean, it does not work in the plot, and it felt like very haphazardly put in. Like, 10 Cloverfield Lane 2 is not part of the Cloverfield films either until J.J. Abrams incorporated it into it and rewrote it, or him and somebody else rewrote it and made it into that universe. And it worked really well in that movie, but in this one, there's only a little bit that connects this to the other, to being a Cloverfield film, and because most of the movie's in space, in the space station, in the future. And there's a side story about the main girl's husband on Earth, who is there, I think, in 2008 with the Cloverfield monster, because I think you see it in the background, and that's not a spoiler because it was in the trailer, I think, that you see it in the background. But it doesn't make sense with the ending, and I'm not going to say what the ending was, but it didn't make sense with that, and it felt like if these couple of scenes where this guy, the husband, is on Earth, if they were not in this movie, then this would be completely on its own. Like, not be a Cloverfield movie. And I felt like I could argue with 10 Cloverfield Lane 2 that that's the same, where the ending was Cloverfield especially, but in that film I thought they did a fantastic job with paranoia and building that up and showing how the characters in that movie are monsters physically and monsters mentally. Like, I really liked that idea in 10 Cloverfield Lane, and in this one the monster is in it. I don't think that's a spoiler at all. Like, it's a Cloverfield movie, you're expecting that. But it's way less it's way more haphazardly put in than 10 Cloverfield Lane was. So that to me bothered me, and the side plot with the husband character is pointless, and there's no reason for it to even be there. So that to me was annoying, that you could take out that 20 minutes and it would connect it no way to Cloverfield at all. Besides like little nods, like the Slusho like cup, like stuff like that, or the Kelvin gas station, but that was with the guy on Earth, so that doesn't make that there's no point of that either. If like that was cut, then there would barely be any literal references to Cloverfield at all. So that's what I'm saying, is that the movie is definitely such a disappointment, such a step down, but it has really great acting in it. And it has some cool ideas. Like in the trailer, they had this hand walking around that was just off a body. And I won't explain what happened in the movie, but that is a cool idea that they used. And there's a couple cool, genuinely cool scares with dimensional rifts. They work really well. I really think that's cool, but the writing is not good for me, and the characters are great with the acting, but the writing of the characters is not good. And I think that it was very confusing and haphazardly kind of blended in a lot of these big sci-fi movies that are good or bad, and made this feel not very original at all. And that's really sad. I really wish that I loved this movie, but I like things a lot about it, but I disliked a lot of things about it as well. So it's really sad. I hope that the next one's already completed, I guess, and I hope that that one is better. I really hope so. But at least this isn't like the worst movie. I think it's got like a 37 on Metacritic, which to me is not. I feel like it should be like a 50 or 60. Like it's not something that universally low in my opinion. I think there are good things about it. But I can see why people outshine the good things or things that they might like a little bit as opposed to the things that they don't like in this movie. So again, just a really big disappointment, but it's not the worst movie of the year I've seen so far. It really is just a genuine. It is a genuine disappointment, but I like things about it. I didn't like things about it. To me, it was a little under average as a movie, and I hope they do better next time. I really do. And I'm glad that they brought this on Netflix instead of in the theaters, because if it came in the theaters, it would flop more, and it would be lambasted in terms of how critics rated it if it was rated the same as this, like when it came on Netflix. So that's so sad that we don't have a good Cloverfield movie now. And it's bound to happen with any movie franchise. There's gonna be a bad one or not a good one. So it's just a shame. I just feel bad. But anyways, I'm hoping for the next one. I hope to be good. Hopefully it will be, because again, I like the first one. I love the second one so much. So I think that this franchise is interesting, and I love how they're still doing the anthology thing, whether or not the movie was good or not. I like that they're still doing the anthology thing, but this was very not as much good connected to Cloverfield like this 10 Cloverfield Lane was. So overall, this was just pretty fairly average. A couple good things about it, but really it was a disappointment.